Breaking tonight, the truce is over. Fighting resumes in Gaza exactly 7 days after the pause began. Where does the war go now?
As I told the Prime Minister, intent matters, but so does the result.
At issue on the deal to keep Canadian news on Google, is it too late for Facebook and Instagram? Rosie and the team break it down. And a new royal bombshell in a new book. But was it all a mistake?
It's Charles. King Charles is in the book.
This is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. We begin with that breaking news. The 7-day truce between Israel and Hamas has expired. Combat in Gaza has started again. So this is the skyline of northern Gaza. Looking in from Israel, the distant thump of explosions and rattle of gunfire started up shortly after the truce expired at 7 a.m. local time. So let's get straight to Paul Hunter in Washington. Paul, those airstrikes have begun again.
Yeah, the war is back on, Adrian. It would seem in full force. Mediators simply couldn't get the truce extended. Already, there are reports of rocket fire from Gaza, gunfire and explosions in northern Gaza, air raid sirens outside the Gaza Strip, and indeed, airstrikes by Israeli forces. The expectation, this could last weeks or months. Israel has already said this next phase would include targets in southern Gaza, which is now packed with hundreds of thousands of Gazans who fled the north since the start of the war last month. All of this just hours after what seems to have been the final release of hostages, at least for now.
It is among the latest, perhaps among the last, Israeli hostage releases from Gaza by Hamas. Seemingly intent on making it memorable, staging the scene, drawing it out for cameras in central Gaza. But the result, when back in Israel, simple but absolute relief and joy. Here, one of the hostages in Gaza in the arms of her mother in Israel, finally. And as agreed, in exchange for the Israelis, more Palestinian detainees freed from Israeli prisons. These among the last of those, it's now presumed. Because apparently, having found no way forward, that 7-day truce has now expired. In Jerusalem, a sign of the rising tensions. Gunshots. 2 men opened fire at a bus stop, killing 3, with Hamas taking responsibility. A day after, Israeli forces killed at least 4 Palestinians in a raid in the West Bank, including, say Palestinian officials, an 8-year-old.
I want to express our appreciation for your support from the beginning.
Under pressure to extend the truce, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. It was Blinken's 3rd visit to the region since October 7th. After all that devastation in northern Gaza, the result of the relentless Israeli assault after the Hamas attacks in October that killed thousands and displaced some 2 million, the message to Israel from the U.S., says Blinken, was clear.
It's imperative that Israel act in accordance with international humanitarian law and the laws of war.
Separately, Netanyahu reiterated his position on his country's response to the attacks that killed 1,200 Israelis. I've sworn to eradicate Hamas, he said. Nothing will stop us. Meanwhile, time ticks down on the truce as Gazans sifted through whatever's left of everything they ever knew. I just want a complete truce, she says. These men fled the north, seeking shelter when one of them was wounded, and their only hospital was destroyed. Telling CBC, we can't handle it anymore, honestly. Honestly.
So, Paul, the U.S. Secretary of State seemed to be unusually blunt and very specific about the next phase of the war.
Yeah, and his comments also seem to suggest he was presuming the truce would not be extended. If so, he was right. But his message to Israel was forceful. Mainly, the U.S. wants Israel to protect Palestinian civilians in this next phase of the war. But he also had specific steps on that. Create safe zones for them. Allow people back into the north. Don't target hospitals. And Blinken also reopened with Israel the big question for when this war eventually ends, which is then what? In many ways, Adrian, that is the biggest and hardest question of all.
Absolutely. Paul Hunter in Washington. Multiple women here in Canada are speaking out in a Fifth Estate investigation. Some say they were sexually assaulted by Nathan Chasing Horse, and they want to know why more wasn't done to stop him. He's the former actor known for his role in the movie Dances with Wolves. He's now in custody in the U.S., charged with a series of sex crimes and facing charges here in Canada, too. Mark Kelly now with the women's questions about why it took police here so long to investigate.
Nathan Chasing Horse traveled to communities across North America as a spiritual leader, holding healing ceremonies, sweat lodges, and sun dances. It's a position of trust that many women say he betrayed, women like Nicole Big Crow. She says Chasing Horse offered to drive her to a ceremony in Tsuut'ina Nation outside Calgary, but sexually assaulted her on a remote trail instead. It was 2008.
I didn't know how to say no, I didn't know how to stop it,
And you were 15?
I was only 15. Yeah.
She says he assaulted her twice more. She went to Tsuut'ina police in 2009. She says she was told there wasn't enough evidence to lay charges.
How did that make you feel?
Just defeated, I guess. So I'm more ashamed of anything.
The Fifth Estate has learned of 4 women in Tsuut'ina who say they were sexually assaulted by Chasing Horse. All were teenagers at the time. Our investigation led us to Talita Tusis in Saskatchewan. She filed a sexual assault complaint against Chasing Horse with the police in 2015. She says the police never got back to her.
Why didn't people stop it? Why didn't people say anything? When people spoke out, people said he was a rapist. We told our story, we weren't believed. Why weren't we believed?
The RCMP in Carameos, BC also received a complaint about Chasing Horse in 2018. So why did it take an investigation by police in Las Vegas to arrest him years later?
When it's a he said, she said type situation, and there's no other corroborating evidence, sometimes police investigators are hesitant to pursue a charge with the Crown. So,
But you realize the possible impact of that.
100%, and certainly I don't condone that, but I'm just offering you perhaps a reason for why that might have happened.
Chasing Horse is in custody in Las Vegas. He pleaded not guilty to the 18 charges against him and has appealed to have the case against him dismissed. But after his arrest there, he now faces 1 charge in BC and multiple charges in Alberta. Mark Kelly, CBC News in Tsuut'ina Nation.
And you can watch the entire Fifth Estate investigation tomorrow night at 9 p.m. on CBC Gem and CBC Television, or tomorrow afternoon on YouTube. Well, there's outrage in Ottawa after a Conservative MP asked a cabinet minister from Quebec to speak in English while answering questions. Kate McKenna now on the altercation and the apology.
In English, how is this money?
Canada's Heritage Minister Pascal Saint-Onge is no stranger to answering questions in French or in English.
Yes, so about the $100 million.
But at Heritage Committee, this was not a question she expected.
Minister, I noticed that you answer my questions in French, but other English questions you answer in English if they're from your Liberal colleagues. I realize it's completely your choice. We're a bilingual country, but if at all possible, I'd love to have it.
Point of order. Asking for an answer in English prompted swift outrage.
This speaks to something very dangerous and very irresponsible on the part of the Conservatives.
There are numerous times when you have a vocabulary in one particular language that allows you to speak more easily in that language. And that is the principle of official bilingualism.
The exchange soon reverberated across Parliament Hill.
It's lack of respect, which does not surprise anybody in Quebec anymore.
I thought it was really inappropriate and disrespectful to French people and Quebec people.
Soon after, Rachel Thomas apologized, writing to the committee's chair, Conservatives support official bilingualism, the preservation of the French language in Canada, and the right of Canadians to communicate in the language of their choice. But observers say this faux pas is making waves in Quebec, where Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives are trying to make inroads.
The way that bilingualism seems to work in this country often seems to rely on francophones to be doing the bulk of the job. And so all those frustrations are what is behind the emotional reaction that you're seeing today.
The federal Liberals tried to capitalize.
Could the Minister of Canadian Heritage tell this House about the long-standing importance of the official language use in this government?
The minister responded to that English question in French. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
There are major layoffs at TD Bank as it prepares for a potential wave of bad loans. During an earnings call, the bank said it plans to cut 3% of its workforce. That's about 3,000 positions. This comes as all of the big banks are setting aside cash in case people default on loans amid high interest rates. And new GDP numbers show Canada's economy has shrunk by 0.3%. That would have been a second straight quarter of decline. That's the threshold for a technical recession. But Statistics Canada also updated previous data to show slight growth in the second quarter, so no recession. Canada has signed a multi-billion-dollar deal with Boeing for a new fleet of military surveillance planes. Ashley Burke now with more on the deal and what it could signal about the future of Canada's military.
The Boeing P-8 Poseidon can drop torpedoes, hunt for submarines, and is the standard surveillance plane all of Canada's key allies use.
I'd like to begin
Now the federal government has finalized a deal to buy them too.
The world is becoming an increasingly dangerous place. And therefore, I'm very much seized with a sense of urgency.
The government took a political gamble signing a sole source deal that's worth more than $10 billion amid a public campaign by Quebec's Bombardier for an open competition.
It wasn't a choice between this airplane and another because there is no other available at the present time.
A competition to replace the Auroras first procured more than 40 years ago would have taken at least 3 years, officials say, at a time when China and Russia's posture is more aggressive.
The Aurora's ability to defend itself against lethal adversarial action is somewhat limited. And so our aviators are, in fact, at risk.
Colleagues and shipmates, the RCN faces some very serious challenges right now.
In a video, the commander of the Navy says it too is under pressure, warning of ships beyond their life cycles and a shortage of sailors, saying the situation's critical.
That could mean we fail to meet our force posture and readiness commitments in 2024 and beyond.
Our submarines, our surface ships, our fighters, our surveillance aircraft, no military equipment supposed to operate into its 40s.
Procurement expert David Perry questions if the announcement is a turning point.
Hopefully it's an indication that the government isn't going to do the traditional Canadian thing, which was basically at all costs have a competition, whether or not it necessarily made sense or not.
The government is buying up to 16 of these surveillance planes and expects that they will all be delivered by 2027. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Ontario First Nations leaders are asking the federal court for a carbon tax exemption. They say the policy is discriminatory and goes against reconciliation. A group representing more than 130 First Nations has filed an application for judicial review. They say the price on carbon is leaving their communities worse off. Many northern communities do not have easy access to alternate fuel sources. The Prime Minister said he will work with communities to ensure affordability, but did not address the exemption. And the World Meteorological Organization is warning 2023 is set to be the warmest year on record. The average global temperature is expected to hit about 1.4 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Record high sea levels and increased greenhouse gas levels were also recorded this year. So that reality is only adding to the urgency at the COP28 climate conference in Dubai, where on its first official day, there's already a new commitment some are calling a win. International climate correspondent Susan Ormiston is there for us tonight.
Plenary 1, opening ceremony is full.
At this point, only party heads or deputy party heads.
First day, first hour, and already the meeting rooms are jammed. The UAE hosting the climate talks needed to produce results, and the summit kicked off with what it called a win.
Today's news on loss and damage gives this UN climate conference a running start.
Bankrolling a fund for climate devastation in developing countries caused by harmful emissions in other countries. $450 million to start, with more expected for loss and damage. Small compared to the hundreds of billions needed, but a start, says Harjit Singh, a longtime climate activist.
So on the first day you get such a big decision, and countries putting money on the table is unprecedented.
And it sets the tone, he says, amongst increasing skepticism over these large summits.
So what have we been doing over the last 30 years? Everybody is questioning, and it's a right question to ask.
COP28 was preceded with controversy. Sultan Al Jaber, the first oil executive to head up COP.
We must look for ways and ensure the inclusion of the role of fossil fuels.
But with climate experts and negotiators focused on how to force cuts in oil and gas emissions.
I know there are strong views about the idea of including language on fossil fuels and renewables in the negotiated text. I ask you all to work together. Be flexible.
That won't be easy. King Charles has arrived in Dubai on Friday. He'll be the keynote speaker. Canada officially opens its pavilion on Friday. It's already signed up to a multi-country pledge to triple renewable energy capacity by 2030. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Dubai.
As King Charles prepares for his speech in Dubai, he is facing a renewed controversy.
It's Charles. King Charles is in the book.
The new details never meant to be read.
What do you think it looks like?
Gum. Looks like gum.
The government is scrambling to stop a nicotine product from being sold to kids.
We were duped.
And Canada rolls out a helpline to save lives.
It just takes that hello to feel like, oh, I am worth it.
We're back in 2. Canada's health minister is apologizing after the rollout of a new nicotine product. He says it was pitched as a method to quit smoking. But as Marina von Stackelberg shows us, it's ending up in the hands of teenagers.
What do you think it looks like?
Gum. Looks like gum.
Spencer Hudson says flavored nicotine pouches are already showing up around school.
People are just saying that they just give you a really good head rush.
Each pouch placed in the mouth contains 4 milligrams of nicotine, the equivalent of smoking several cigarettes. Zonnic hit Canadian shelves last month. Health Canada approved it as a tool to help quit smoking, but it doesn't fall under tobacco or vape laws. So there are no restrictions on how it's advertised or sold.
We're looking at what actions we can take and to take those actions quickly. We want to shut down this loophole.
The health minister's promise now comes after national health groups sounded the alarm earlier this month about Zonnic. With colorful packaging, fruity flavors, and youthful ads, they say target kids.
The way that this was presented is it was for the purposes of cessation. In their marketing and their approach, it exists in a completely different way. We were duped.
But it shouldn't be happening.
But the Canadian Cancer Society says the federal government should have known better.
This product should never have been approved to be sold on the market by Imperial Tobacco, given the way it's being marketed in the United States, in Europe.
Health Canada says controlling where and how nicotine pouches are sold is up to the provinces, but some say more warning was needed.
The provinces were given no advance notice that this was going to be legalized. But for cannabis, provinces had 3 years to get ready to prepare provincial legislation and regulations.
We've raised it with the federal government, and we would like and would expect them to take action. If they don't, we'll consider all our options.
Imperial Tobacco says it followed the proper approval process. It says Zonnic is not intended for anyone under the age of 18. You can find that information on the package if you peel back 3 labels. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
Nationwide mental health help is now just a call or text away. A new helpline is now live to connect anyone in crisis to immediate support. As Tashana Reid tells us, it's being called a life-saving first step.
It's Canada's new 3-digit number.
988, a new number Ottawa says will be a lifeline for Canadians.
Canada's new 3-digit number for suicide prevention is up and running. Thank you.
Similar to 911, 988 connects people in crisis by text or phone to a live trained responder closest to them. Available in English and French 24/7. Immediate support for people who are thinking about suicide or those worried about someone else.
We all know that 988 will help save lives.
Each day in Canada, approximately 12 people die by suicide.
Materials that are going on to
Canada's largest mental health hospital is running the helpline.
We agree time is of essence, and that 3-digit number is going to make it much easier to get through.
The new crisis line brings together 39 local, provincial, territorial, and national partners, including Kids Help Phone, under one number.
People want to feel that they're getting support close to home.
Listen to their story, assess any risks that they might be feeling.
This nonprofit is one of the many community partners to join the 988 network.
How do we make it so that, they've left this interaction with, okay, I have some hope.
And one phone call can make a difference. In 2007, Tanya Joy attempted suicide. 12 years later, she lost her brother to it.
It just takes that hello or questions like, what matters to you? Or what do you need today? To feel like, oh, I am worth it.
The team behind 988 will be monitoring wait times and demand and report directly to the Public Health Agency of Canada. Now they say the job is to raise awareness so Canadians know anytime, anywhere, help is just a phone call away. Tashana Reid, CBC News, Toronto.
Another new book details Harry and Meghan's rift with the royal family.
I had never submitted a book that had their names in it. I'm obviously frustrated.
How a translated version may have revealed a little too much. And Rosie's here with that issue. Hello, you.
Hey, Adrian, tonight we are going to talk about the federal government's deal with Google to prevent a news ban.
Google will be compensating our news organization with $100 million.
Will Facebook and Instagram follow? Chantal, Andrew Althea, and Kelly Carterman join me to talk about that and more.
One of the great Irish voices has been silenced tonight. Shane MacGowan, the singer-songwriter behind the Pogues, has died at the age of 65. One of his biggest hits, Fairy Tale of New York. So you can bet that will be on repeat this holiday season. MacGowan was recently hospitalized with viral encephalitis. His spokesperson says he died peacefully this morning with his wife and sister by his side. And Buckingham Palace says it is considering all options in the wake of a new controversy and a new book about the royals. Copies of the Dutch translation have been yanked off the shelf for naming names that shouldn't have been named. Thomas Daigle explains.
Either this book contains a bombshell revelation or one massive blunder. Whatever happened, Buckingham Palace is now facing the fallout of what's proving to be an international enigma, with British tabloids claiming a royal racist has been named.
I wasn't aware that I had a different version of the book than everyone else in the world.
Author Omid Scobie is considered a close ally of Prince Harry and his wife Meghan. His new book, Endgame, features previously untold allegations about the royal family. And somehow only the version in Dutch contains one especially explosive claim that points back to this.
Concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What? In 2021, Meghan told Oprah about how a royal purportedly spoke of her then unborn son, Archie. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex never publicly said who had asked about skin color. But in that new book, Dutch royal reporter Rick Evers was the first to spot two names.
It's Charles. King Charles is in the book. And in a later paragraph, it says that someone else was also part of the discussion. That name is the Princess of Wales.
Out on Thursday night, Catherine and Prince William avoided commenting. And on a British chat show, the author said what ended up written in Dutch didn't come from him.
I had never submitted a book that had their names in it, so I can only talk about my version.
Yeah.
I'm obviously frustrated.
The Dutch publisher withdrew the book, simply stating an error had occurred. But how?
Were easily overlooked, or someone at the publisher missed the memo. And the other option is, of course, that it was totally on purpose.
A Buckingham Palace spokesperson would only say they're considering all options. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, let's break down the news shaping our world. It's Thursday, which means Rosie's here with At Issue.
At issue this week, Canada's Online News Act. Google and the federal government strike a deal to keep Canadian news on the platform, and for the tech giant to pay $100 million annually to news outlets.
This is a historic development. It will establish a fairer commercial relationship between digital platforms and journalism in Canada.
But Meta is still blocking news on Facebook and Instagram. How significant is this deal, and is Meta next? I'm Rosemary Barton, here to break it down. Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, Althea Raj, and Kelly Kruderman joins us from Calgary tonight. Good to see you all. Althea, I'm going to start with you because you wrote about this yesterday or today. Yesterday, I guess. How significant is this deal? Is this a win for the Canadian government? Give us your assessment.
No, it avoids the catastrophe because Google has threatened to remove all the news from its platforms. Can you imagine not having any news on Google search? But actually, it's basically a complete cave-in from the government. Basically, Google got the terms that it wanted a year ago. They get to have to only spend $100 million, which is what they said they were prepared to spend. The government wanted $172 million from Google. Google said they didn't want to negotiate with everybody individually. It was too complicated. Why don't you just create a fund and we'll just dump a bunch of money there and then they can disperse it. That's basically what they got. So they got an exemption from the law. So the law right now applies to nobody as it is written. It doesn't apply to Google. Meta decided, hey, we're not going to abide by the law because there's a giant loophole in the law that says if you don't have news on your platform, you don't have to abide by this. So they were just like, okay, well, no more news on Facebook and Instagram. And that means that any other company that meets this threshold where this law would actually apply to them has the option of doing what Meta has done. So no, it's avoidance of a disaster, but the government would have been better off to just go back to the drawing board and scrap this law completely and start again.
Chantal.
Yeah, it is save the furniture moment, as you would call it, and basically damage control. There is zero evidence that it will have impact on Meta and make it say, oh, gee, we should have signed on to this, because there's very little evidence that Meta suffered from banning Canadian news from Instagram and Facebook. But there is plenty of evidence that Canadian media organizations suffered from it. So whatever the government wrestled from Google will mitigate some of those losses rather than enhance media budget. And at the end of the day, I guess it's more of a safe face outcome, which is not the worst outcome that the government could have come to, than a historic moment.
It's also kind of telling in terms of the government's approach, Andrew, to tech giants, because it's also dealing with the digital services tax and the U.S. Anyway, it's all very complicated. But what does it say to you about how they are willing to engage on these kinds of issues?
It says that they don't really understand the internet, first of all, and secondly, that they vastly overstate their leverage in dealing with these. Look, there never was any principle that said that Google and Facebook had to compensate the Canadian media for building a better mousetrap, which is basically what happened. They came up with a better advertising service than we could offer. So it's no more likely than that Toyota should compensate GM for building better cars. So the media and the government colluded together, the publishers and the government colluded together to invent one, which was you're stealing our content. By linking to our content, by sending readers to our pages, somehow you're stealing our content, and you should have to provide us with compensation for this service you've been providing us for free. Well, that's been blown up by this deal. Google always said we're not going to accept that. Facebook said the same thing. If we do, we'd be blowing up the internet. So instead what they've done is basically just paid them a lump sum to go away. $100 million, it basically just goes into a kitty. And Google was less hardline on this than Facebook was. They just said we don't want unlimited liability and don't want to pay for links. So what that's exposed then is the real underlying principle of this whole thing, which is Google and Facebook have a lot of money, the media want it, make them give us some. And to that extent, it's less of a shake than it was, but it's at least a more explicit shakedown, and that's to the good. But what it doesn't do is solve any of our problems. We're not going to fix the industry. The future of the industry is going to lie in finding and attracting and keeping willing, paying readers, not whining to the government to extort money from unwilling foreign billionaires. And that is the lesson we still have to learn as an industry.
Yeah, we should say, obviously, as a caveat, that many of the organizations and companies we work for stand to benefit from this deal. Kelly, your thoughts?
I think given the rhetoric from the government on C-18, this is a relative win, given that, you know, at least they're not making this deal in mid-December, like hours before the legislation comes into effect. And by that, again, it is, as you say, as Chantal said, saving the furniture in that way. And I think Canadians will be looking, or the media will be looking, others will be looking, critics will be looking for those non-monetary things that the Heritage Minister said will also come with this deal, and whether that amounts for everything. I think on the digital services tax that was just introduced, the idea introduced with some concrete terms this week, is a more solid idea, because there are examples you can look to in the UK and France, and in the UK they're getting way more revenues from that digital services tax than they even thought they would. And don't forget, this is a government that badly needs new sources of revenue, that is going to be in a crunch to balance, to come anywhere close to balance, or not having as huge a deficit as it would, and even hundreds of millions of dollars may count.
Though the Americans hate the digital services tax and have told the government, don't go ahead with this without us. Chantal, you want in, and then Althea.
Yes, well, it is a main point of friction with the Biden administration. What comes next, I can't tell. But what's interesting about this is, yes, the government needs more revenue. So I'm not sure I missed the announcement that said all the revenues will go to the Canadian media rather than the government bottom line. But the merits of the digital services tax, it's a simple idea that does not have government picking winners and losers, and that actually brings revenues based on formulas that have been tried in other jurisdictions that are comparable.
Well, I wonder, Althea, is that not the better solution here, rather than what they've come up with?
I have long argued that it would have been a lot simpler, instead of having C-18, or what we now know it as the Online News Act, to just levy a tax on any big tech platform that, choose your poison, and then use that to either fund the current local journalism labor tax credit, or create a fund, as will be created with Google, and get an independent third party to disperse it, as opposed to this idea of paying for Lynx. But it's mostly because the way the legislation didn't need to be drafted in this way, with this gaping hole in it. And we're talking about so many different things. Like, I don't agree with Andrew. I don't know how journalism in this country survives without some form of government assistance, because quality journalism is really expensive to produce. And I don't know that we have the philanthropic culture, for example, of the United States, to allow not-for-profits to fill in that space. And I don't want to live in a country where, only kind of the elites can afford subscription to real journalism, and everybody else is doing clickbait and reading fake news on Facebook. So there's we're talking about three different things at the same time. I think there is a valuable conversation to have about whether or not the government should have a role to play and what that role should look like. I think it's very clear that this bill, this new law, doesn't work, and probably will not work in the future, so they should revisit it. And as far as the digital service tax, 3% on people who make more than $20 million a year advertising from Canadian social media users and digital users like Spotify, for example. The government wanted to work with international partners. That doesn't seem to have materialized, so there may be a new tax in the new year.
Quickly, Andrew, quickly, Chantal, quickly.
Well, that's a very large debate to get into, so I don't propose to try at this point. I'll just say I agree that the digital service tax is a much better way of approaching it rather than this kind of elaborate cross-subsidy schemes. The problem is that we're supposed to be doing this in concert with our other allies, with other countries around the world, and we're not doing that.
Chantal, last word to you.
I have suspected for a long time that we've gone wrong on how we salvage quality journalism in this country, because we've confused it with saving or making virtual the old models of the National Post, the Globe and Mail, the Toronto Star. I'm not sure that that's the way to go. Maybe you need to break everything down and start with different models.
Okay, this is like a much bigger conversation, which we will have. And Kelly, you're going to start us off in the next block. We're going to leave this one here. When we return, we'll take a look at Alberta's first use of the Sovereignty Act.
The federal government can act to regulate federal projects on federal lands and international, but they cannot use their power to invade our jurisdiction.
What kind of message is Premier Smith sending to Ottawa by invoking the act? That's next on The National. Alberta is invoking its controversial Sovereignty Act to push back against the federal government's clean electricity regulations. Under the act, Alberta has ordered government entities to ignore them.
We developed this legislation to shield the province from federal intrusions, and we're using it now because the consequences of this particular overreach would be so severe.
We were actually headed towards finding a pathway to doing this in a way that would work for Alberta and for Canada.
So what's behind Alberta's move? Will it hold up in court? What does it mean? Let's bring everybody back. Chantal, Andrew, Althea, Kelly. Kelly, we'll start with you because this is in your hometown. I was a little bit surprised to see the Sovereignty Act invoked over this issue, but tell me why it seems to make sense for the Premier.
I think people in Alberta were wondering until this week whether it would actually be used at all, whether we would actually see a resolution at all. And this electricity issue has really flown under the radar in a lot of ways, but the Smith government specifically has obviously made it a really big deal, almost a bigger deal than the cap on oil and gas emissions that we're also going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks. On electricity, I think they think they're on more solid ground in terms of electricity being provincial jurisdiction. And I think they saw a federal government on the ropes when it comes to environmental and climate policy with the court losses, with the kind of nakedly political decision to pause the carbon price on home heating oil, which specifically benefits a region where the Liberals are facing political trouble, I think. And you're seeing that from Scott Moe in Saskatchewan too. There is a sense that there is momentum here and that this was the time to challenge this. And you see someone like Natural Resources Minister Jonathan Wilkinson, who said he was speaking to the Alberta government in good faith. They never mentioned the Sovereignty Act. Yeah. The word from the Premier's office and the Premier is that this was not moving at all, and you can decide who you want to believe. The Smith government did signal in their speech from the throne in October that they would be using the Sovereignty Act. So in a way, the federal government, if they're reading their clippings, shouldn't be surprised.
Chantal?
Okay, so let me talk to you from the province that is used to distinguish between saber rattling and actual reality.
Yes.
And on this one, I hear the sound of saber rattling. We are talking about using an act that probably will not stand up in court as an act to prevent something, regulations that don't yet exist.
Yes, to be
that
clear.
That would kick in 2035 when I don't expect to be on the show to talk about that.
Oh, shoot.
Because I'll be long gone. To me, and I say it with all the respect that I have about unanimous resolutions from the National Assembly that we get regularly, this is as much impact in the real world as a unanimous resolution from the National Assembly. Yeah. And if you have not seen the earth shake when they happen regularly, it's probably because that is the impact that they have. Very little.
Okay, so if it's kind of pretend, Andrew, an act that may or may not hold up for regulations that don't currently exist and we don't know about, what are the politics then? What is the benefit for the Premier here?
Well, it's symbolic, as she herself acknowledged. It's a long way from the origins of the Alberta Sovereignty Act. You know, in the Free Alberta strategy drafted by one of her closest advisors, it was supposed to be basically a revolutionary act. They were going to throw off the yoke of federal law. They were going to essentially just pick and choose which laws they would decide to obey. They would reject court rulings to the contrary, et cetera, et cetera. What you get here, on top of everything that's already been said, is a bill that doesn't really do anything. The people that it would forbid from cooperating with the federal government aren't actually required to cooperate with the federal government. The people whose cooperation is required, the private power operators, are not covered by the Sovereignty Act. So she resolves the dilemma, of course, in the absolute pièce de résistance of the whole thing by saying we're going to nationalize parts of the industry just so that we can tell them to disobey the federal law, which is a remarkable version of conservatism. So it is preposterous. Meanwhile, something real is about to happen in Saskatchewan next door, where as of January 1st, Premier Moe has told both the natural gas and the electrical utilities to stop collecting the federal carbon tax, which essentially exposes the executives of those corporations to potential legal liability. That is about to get real in a hurry. Yeah. The Alberta thing is, God knows, it's to put on a show.
Althea.
I was struck a few weeks ago. Jonathan Wilkinson, the federal natural resources minister, was at a Canada 2020 conference. It's like a big L liberal think tank that says it's not a liberal think tank. And he was talking about his relationship with the premiers in a conversation with Lisa Raitt. And he talked about how he doesn't actually have a good relationship with Scott Moe. But in Alberta, there is like blushering at the political level with Danielle Smith. But when it comes to actually like getting work done, the federal government actually has a really good, these were his words, working relationships with Alberta. So to me, what happened this week is basically a negotiating tactic, because clearly the negotiations are not going where Danielle Smith would like them to go. At the same time, I find it mind-boggling that you have a premier who also said, no, we want to pause wind turbines and solar panels and that development of that energy. And oh no, clean energy, this is terrible and we cannot adapt. So I do wonder what the real issue is in Alberta. Like, I noticed that we're not talking about healthcare reform anymore. I mean, Kelly has written about it, but very few other people have. And so, you know, what is this distracting from, I think would be my question.
Well, let's ask that to Kelly. Is it distracting from something, or is it to focus on something else? Is it to get people to not think about the cap on oil and gas once those come in the weeks ahead?
I always think that any push against Ottawa is absolutely a distraction from domestic issues and from domestic provincial issues like healthcare, like education, things that provincial governments are responsible for. Danielle Smith wins in many ways, though, when she talks about fighting with the feds. It plays to her party, but it also, you know, plays to concerns that people have about inflation, about costs. We have big problems in our electricity system, in our backyard, that exist completely separate from these federal regulations. You know, there could have been some kind of provincial intervention in the market without the Sovereignty Act. This is politics, but here we are on national TV talking about electricity policy on the prairies. So maybe Danielle Smith is happy right now.
Okay, I got to leave it there. Thank you all for weighing in on that. Thank you, Kelly, for being here. Now I'll throw things back to Adrian in Toronto.
And thank you, Rosie. Next, what you don't expect to see swimming upstream.
We saw something upstream, probably about like 500-600 yards upstream. Thought maybe a bear or a deer.
Nope, the rare cat that likes water in our moment. Well, that is a sight you don't see every day, even in Manitoba's backcountry. What is it, you ask? That would be a lynx coming out of the water after a swim in the lake. So cats, of course, are not known to like water. So when Austin Caithness posted this video, it attracted millions of viewers. The cat who took a dip is our moment.
People are surprised to see a cat swimming. The cats hate water kind of thing. I've been going out there since I was a kid, like 20 plus years. We were fishing near a set of rapids, which we call Sturgeon Falls. We saw something upstream, like 500-600 yards upstream. Thought maybe a bear or a deer caught it right as it was getting to the shore, and it was a lynx. I think it was a young lynx. None of us had ever seen one before. To see one in the wild alive was pretty crazy. People who live in big cities, they would have to drive hours in order to get anywhere remote like this. I sent it to my girlfriend's dad because he has a cottage out there. He asked me if he could send it to the Whiteshell Cottagers Association Facebook page. They posted it. I looked later on that night and I think it had about 6,000 views. The next morning I checked back again and it was over 100,000. And then from there it just blew up. Last time I checked, I mean, I think they said it was over 4 million. It's almost 5 million views. One swimming we'll probably never see again, but I hope so.
Okay, everybody keeps talking about how cool it is, but that moment in the video where the lynx turns and looks at him, that would have been it for me. I would have been out of there. One more thing to be terrified of. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.